You're listening to Learning Leader Spotlight, interviews with corporate L&D leaders. On each episode, we sit down with key industry experts to discover more about what's happening in the world of learning and development, from current trends and insights to the most valuable lessons learned along the way. Join us for a fresh perspective on all things training and the best direction forward. Here's your host, Leanne Langford.
Welcome to Learning Leaders Spotlight, where we interview the learning leaders of today to help the learning leaders of tomorrow. I'm your host, Tracy D. Lufkin, and I'm a relationship manager with Training Pros, the sponsor of this podcast. Training Pros is a learning and development contract staffing company, and we like to say, when you have more projects than people, let us find the best consultant to start your project with confidence. Today, I'm joined by Karen Massey, a seasoned learning and organizational development leader with more than 20 years of experience building leadership capability and enterprise learning strategy across healthcare, manufacturing, nonprofits, and the Department of Defense. Karen currently serves as a senior director of training and qualification at AWP Safety and brings a strong psychology and executive coaching lens to her work. Karen, welcome.
Thank you so much, Tracy. Appreciate it and really happy to be here.
Yes, great. Can you share with our audience a 60-second overview of what you do?
Yeah, absolutely. So I work currently in training and qualification. So a lot of the work that I do has to do with making sure that we're certifying our folks who go out and do the good work for the company. And so that comes with a long training lens where we go through a train the trainer certification process, help people upskill, learn their jobs, do supervisor scorecards, all that good stuff. So we're measuring folks to make sure that they're successful and helping our leaders also to upskill to make sure that they're providing the support that our folks need. So yeah, a lot of good stuff in the works.
We know there's a lot of changes, and you've been in the industry and have seen a lot of changes, I'm sure. What specifically are the most impactful changes that you've seen just in the last few years, specifically in L&D?
Yeah, it's a great question. So when I think about the last couple of years, I think all of our focus is, of course, on AI. I would also say the focus is very heavily on providing value. And for L&D specifically, a lot of that's metrics. And how are we not only helping to upskill our people, but how is the training, the learning, the education, the skills that we're providing, helping the business be able to perform better. And so it's more of an enterprise approach than a classroom, check the box or even, more than check the box, but a tying the results from a metrics perspective to actual performance outcomes. And then I would say that on the AI piece, that is a performance accelerator. And so helping not only our field be able to utilize that so that we're being more efficient with our time, but really in the organizations that have AI embedded in their business, being able to make sure that the folks who are working in whatever business it is know how to use those tools effectively so that they're getting upskilled faster. Their ability to do their jobs is doubling in terms of kind of their outputs. And so L&D being a partner with the business versus being sort of on the fringe, but really being at the table as a business partner to be able to drive some of those initiatives. Those are some of the past couple of years where I've really seen L&D make the biggest impact.
And I love the way you use the term L and OD instead of just L&D. So for our listeners, I'm sure they may know, but if they don't, learning and organizational development impacts that. And you have that's a big area of your expertise is in organizational development.
Yeah, the organization, I think it's being able to take whatever size the organization is, but realizing that in order to change performance through learning, you have to take an organizational approach. You have to take an approach that's holistic and aligned with the business and that organizational structure. And so it's more than, like I was saying, it's more, training, learning, all of that is a part of being embedded with the organization as a whole and in the enterprise as a whole versus kind of we need this, come in and, parachute in and fix something and then leave. Those days are gone.
Yeah,
really.
they really are. Being an order taker is also gone. It's
That's
just
right.
you've got
That's
to
right.
justify and make sure, like you said, that it impacts the whole organization and that you understand how. And because really,
Yeah.
that's what's going to make you agile and nimble in this environment.
That's right. And people recognizing the value add when you're a partner versus an order taker. Cause I think a lot of what I've run into too in the past couple of years is we've had sort of these same classes or these same initiatives, it's leadership development or crucial conversations or coaching in some of these different things or learning new technologies. But really what that's done is kind of the bad behavior of the people in the business saying, "Oh, that's what L&OD does. Let me go to them and say I need that," versus, we do, kind of the order intake process, which is a partnership where we ask questions and really understand what the needs are. And sometimes it isn't that. And that can cause conflict in a good way, but it's educating the business that, oh, you thought you needed this, but let me help you recognize what you've identified as your outcomes, and really this is what we can offer you to help you get there.
That's just so insightful and definitely target spot on with what L&D is doing these days to partner and really make a difference in just the whole organization as a whole.
Yep. Yep.
So with that in mind, considering all of those impacts with AI, I'm assuming that if I was to say, where do you see the L&OD space headed in the next, say, 3 years? What do you think that looks like?
Yeah, so that's absolutely heavy. I mean, I haven't talked to any organization, and our organization is using AI currently, heavily upskilling, working. We have, it's sort of in that IT roadmap for every company that wants to continue to grow, accelerate, or upskill, where become better where they already are. So being able to understand some of the tools that are out there and have even governance around them, teaching models around AI. We've got a lot of models for change. We've got models for a lot of things, but really being able to have some of those. And there's some out there already with AI, some models to utilize that we can give to our business partners and helping them to learn that, learn how to use it within their specific area of the business. One thing that we're doing is having Copilot, for example, embedded within our systems.
Mm.
And so that accelerates for our users of systems having to kind of dig or say, "Hey, IT, can you make this report for me? Or can you make this dashboard? Or can you get me this information? Or can you do a training on that?" It's more training them or helping them learn how to use the tool themselves and empowering them to ask Copilot those questions. And then they get all of that information on a regular basis, kind of in their own hands at their own speed versus the
Mhm.
bottleneck of having to, learn um, how to get that, in a piecemeal. And so I really see the field being able to, or our field being able to be that conduit between here's the tool and here's our people, making sure that they're equipped in a way that's very functional and easy, because we can't just plop the tool and expect them to understand how to use it to the full advantage. It's the whole idea of, like, I have my cell phone and I probably know 3 things that it does and it does 20. The same with Copilot and being able to be that support, but that also requires us to need to upskill on these tools first.
Exactly, and when you said embedded across the organization, that's key because I don't think, some people realize that's going to set up for so much more success because you can embed it as to how it works within your organization, which then gives them more kind of guardrails.
Yes.
Always the guardrails, that's the question around AI tools
Right. And yeah, any IT leader I talk to, they love it and hate it for that
Mhm.
reason. It's the cyber security, the security piece and how we have governance around it so that we aren't, that's one of the things where companies, like, for example, in our case, using Copilot embedded internally, we're not uploading or asking proprietary questions that's out there on the big, AI, where everybody can have access to it. But then you also have to have people in your organization not on their own go out there and do that and upload things that they shouldn't. So it's tricky. interesting time that we're living in. We have all of this access, but need to use it responsibly. And what does that mean?
Exactly, exactly. I can't remember, there was something, a podcast I listened to recently, and I can't remember exactly how, the example was used, but it was something along the lines of, AI today is, it's like it's a necessary evil. I mean, it's like having fire. You have to have fire, and there's good, and fire does good things
Yeah.
if you use it correctly and set it up correctly. And if you don't, then it can just be so damaging. So,
Yeah.
that I
I
always
love
think
that.
of that when I think of AI. And then also, we've been through, I mean, you and I have been in the industry for a long time. And back in the day, just learning how to use a PC was a whole new world,
That's
and getting
right.
on the internet was a whole new world. And so this is just another evolution of that.
Yeah, I love that. It's so true. And the same with Twitter and all these
Yes.
other th- social media,
Social media.
being able
Mhm.
to use that in a responsible way. We'll run into it, with AI and have and but at the same time, it's here. It's not going away. It's helpful. So I'm excited and happy and kind of grateful to be in a place that's not only embracing it but making it a differentiator really as a company. I think that's the way to win down the road is
Exactly. Yeah.
to have that in your portfolio.
Yeah, that's so important. So I'm so excited for you too that you're in that position to be able to work with a company that's forward thinking. Wonderful. So I'm going to shift a little bit then. And I know this is a difficult question to answer, but I love to throw this out. And if you have multiple answers, because I know in our careers it changes, but who has been your most influential professional mentor?
I love that, and that is a challenge because I it shifts, it changes. I would definitely say over my career, I've learned the most, from the systems and the companies I've been in. I've been in, nonprofit. I've been in for profit. I've been in private equity, government, Department of Defense. I think when I think of where I started, kind of the mentorship of that Department of Defense structure for me was very helpful because it was very grounding. And here's our standard operating procedures. This is what a big organization looks like and how we adhere to different practices. And that really set me up, I think, to have that grounding, stable understanding of why I'm built where I'm a little slow, or I'm sorry, I'm fast. So if I'm in an organization that's slower than that, it's a challenge, but it helped me in kind of learning from people the importance of that, embedded in me the necessity for those structures and processes. So then when I went to kind of faster moving organizations, was able to balance that, but also bring some of it when there maybe wasn't the processes and the governance and those things. And so I've always gravitated, I think, where I was in my career, where I'm at different stages, who can I learn from that has those skills that are they're different than mine, and also, it isn't necessarily a leader, but a culture at times as
Mhm.
well to understand
Mhm.
this is a culture of accountability, and so people who would not, kind of put up with, some nonsense with their teams and make very hard leadership decisions. That integrity has always been something that I've taken with me throughout my career because recognizing that's leadership. And so is kind of that mentoring if you're going to grow to be able to, you're not a lead, it's cliche, you're not a leader in title, but you're a leader in your behaviors and your actions. And a lot of times that's being the decision maker, which sounds great, but when it falls on you to take, it's you if it doesn't work out and to really own that, the leaders that I've really gravitated towards have been those folks who have lived that, made the hard decisions, stood by it, didn't take any nonsense, didn't get run over, railroaded by their teams, but really built strong performing teams. And then I've learned that that's then you attract the people on your team who are high performers because they trust you as a leader and that you'll make those decisions for the good of the team. So it's been a long journey of I think really looking towards different people in different circumstances who have kind of paved a way for not only themselves, but for other people to not sort of kowtow or cave into challenges
Yeah.
that face their way.
Sounds like it's not necessarily, a person, it's kind of, that leadership quality that someone exemplifies that you learn from, and you see that in different areas, like you said, where you go. So that's really what is most influential is, people see and 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 can use that as an example for their leadership.
And I have and I like an example is I have a CEO from an old company that I worked for, and we are in regular contact probably once a quarter. I would consider her a mentor, but I
Mhm.
also mentor her. Like she
That's
and
okay.
that's what I think is that's healthy and where those relationships and mentorship work is it's not so much I'm going to lead you to your next place, at least in my case, but
Mhm.
you believe and you trust each other and you help consistently each other be better. And I just throw out her title because I don't have that title. And so it would seem natural that she's the mentor and I'm the mentee. But I think part
Okay.
of her being a great mentor, if you will, is her humility of also wanting to
Playing to
connect
your
because she
strengths.
gets this much. Yeah,
Yeah, your
exactly.
strengths, your experiences, what
Yep.
value you have to add, and then she can probably even contribute to that. That's a wonderful relationship to have. I think everyone should have that kind of
Yep.
relationship with someone, and whether we call it mentorship or idea sharing or whatever it may be.
Like I've never like nobody's ever come out of the sky and been like, I'm gonna mentor you. Or I've personally never been in a company where it's like, Karen, we're gonna give you a mentor. So I would, folks who are listening, I've initiated, and people kind of show up.
A great
And
point.
it evolves into that. So it doesn't have to be a on paper,
Mhm.
this is a person who's gonna coach you or I'll I insert myself or I
Yes.
advocate for relationships that I know will enhance me and believe other people to do the same with
Yeah,
me. And
great
so
point. Yeah, great
yeah,
point. You have to initiate that.
yeah,
That's been my experience as well. So,
yeah.
and to know what is going to help you and what you need, because there's lots of great leaders and coaches and everything else out there, but it's not necessarily aligned with what you need. Then it's not necessarily going to be that win-win situation. Yeah. So thinking about back to AI and the future and some of the things that you have going on with your role and the company or just in general for the industry, what do you think is the most important skill in talent development right now?
Yeah, it's a great question. Again, I think agility. So where I've seen the most success is at it doesn't matter how long you've been in the industry, it doesn't matter your experience, it doesn't matter. I think that resilience in being agile because we are in a time right now that is changing so fast. And so I get really excited when I talk to just had a conversation that earlier today with somebody who was doing, some contract work and they've been in the business for 30 years and they're, doing some AI work with this company and it's not even a second thought. And so, and I don't run across, not everybody's like that, and we've seen people who kind of hold on to how things were or how things are. These are industry standards that we've used for 20, 30 years. And just being nimble and agile and flexible enough to revisit that and
Yes.
not throw everything out, but, maybe some of those are very antiquated and dated given where we are currently with technology and the way the world is moving fast. So I think that quality is hands down for anyone, whatever their
Agreed.
career is,
Agreed. Yeah.
have that openness and agility and be able to pivot quickly and
Yeah. I
be
think
resilient to change.
you're right,
Yeah.
you're spot on, and I just, was with an author, a new ATD member of ours here in the Rocky Mountain chapter, and the author gave me his latest book, and it's called Bend, Don't Break.
Ah.
And
Mhm.
I think it's still downstairs, I don't have it here to show,
I love it.
but yeah, Bend, and it's all about the AI and being agile and all those things you just said, to help
Yeah.
people be able to be that way and not, not have a a meltdown, which could happen.
Yeah, and it's habit. I mean, even in change, when we're introducing these things and even some of the initiatives that I'm working on now, enterprise-wide, you go in and you hear kind of the group think and you hear kind of the resistance and you hear even the, corporate and how we do our business, and it's all it is. Like I look at that as these are habits, these are habits of thought, these are habits of behavior and folks need to recognize that first, that, "Oh, I'm in that loop." And I did it the other day. I mean, people wanted to change a whole swoop of the way we were doing things, and we're talking about AI and talking about, implementing different things, and, it was hard. It was hard to pivot because I had a plan, I had a strategy, I had a way of doing it,
Sure.
and it was gonna blow it up. And so being able to be agile and listen, maybe not adopt it right away, but being open to that conversation. But first, I think the first thing it comes with that self-awareness that, oh, here I am. I'm going down that loop of
Yeah,
resistance.
exactly, because you don't wanna
My
rework.
comfort zone.
Yeah, that's good. You have to self-identify definitely with that.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. It's a
speaking
wave.
yeah,
Mhm.
speaking of books, do you have, one book or resource that, anyone wanting to move into L&D leadership should read?
Oh gosh, I love podcasts. I'm not a big reader. It's probably very unpopular. I used to be. I think it's just the quickness of things, or I learn best by being exposed. And so uh y- you know staying close in the industry to what organizations are doing, um, that informs me and helps me more than reading about it. Not to say that there isn't value in that and that I don't get nuggets from that, but um, I stay really close with old colleagues. I stay very close with folks I've met in, like my coaching programs, um, and and folks who I talk to or meet at, industry events, and work hard to stay connected and to share what we're doing, to hear what they're doing, because it's more, for me, it's more tactical. I can wrap my head around it. Like an example, is the, companies that are maybe a little ahead in, having even an infrastructure of talent of people who know AI and who are, they've hired folks who that's their sole focus. Like at my company, we're not there yet. And so I kind of get, oh, well, how are you using them? And how are you, so for me, that's more, I think, tangible than reading about that. Cause
Mhm.
I think I can learn that that's something that's a good idea to do, but I wanna see or hear the implementation of it that's real. That just is how I learn, I
Not
think.
just theory. Yeah.
Yep.
So is
Not
it
just
safe
the
to say
Yeah,
that your favorite source for industry news and information are podcasts?
100%. Yep, 100%, yeah.
Any
How
other
about
specific
that?
yes, specific ones you wanna share?
I'm all over the map. I mean, I think I like some that are not only talent related, but also technology related, even business related, because if I learn, a lot of what I've learned is finance speak, to be honest, and business speak, because that has informed how I speak to when I need to put board slides together, when I need to put executive updates together. I've learned a lot about EBITDA. I've learned a lot about just how boards value being in private equity now, but acquisitions, mergers and acquisitions, a lot of that stuff that um, just the industry piece and hearing industry pros talk about it, it's not as kind of in the sky. It's very understandable and very applicable and helps, I think, how I need to educate folks in the company about how we're a partner and how we're driving results for them. So can't really name drop any podcasts, but I do seek them out pretty regularly. I'm on LinkedIn or different places to see if they come up in my feed. I'm always curious to give it a try and listen if the topic is, seems relevant, more so that than to pick up a book.
Well, you mentioned, just to kind of wrap up here, tying results, and the results is what you had mentioned at the beginning, and metrics. And so looking for that, tying those results in with the information that you're learning and that you're seeking and that's out there is great.
Yeah, and what I'll say to that too in our field is I never wait for anyone to tell me what kind of outputs or results they're looking for. I do that work for the business,
Mm.
and kind of I do that by sitting in on for us it's like there's safety meetings, there's performance meetings, there's our goals, and I do the work to align what we're doing, how we're performing based on being trained on something or learning something, and I do the hard work to create reports that tie a ramp up of learning to that particular metric or outcome of performance. And never want to be in a position, and this is just over years of experience, where some executive is asking, well, how is it helping? Or, what
Mhm.
are you doing over there in that L&OT world, that's, so elusive or just happens when it's a problem, but and then providing the dashboards and the updates. The easy ones are like if there's errors, if people are making errors, like we can pull error reports.
Yeah.
We can see time to
Mhm.
completions. Those are more business versus the confidence level. I do that too. How confident are you in performing your job? Supervisor scorecards, preparation, all of that good stuff, and also in the field. Like that's another piece too. Is training is of course no longer in the classroom or e-learning. It's really what's happening in the field and mentoring people in the field and the work that we're doing and being able to report metrics back on that as well. So for me, that's been, I've never been questioned on value. And I think a big part of it is that piece that we talked about in the very beginning, which is, being able to show it in a way
Exactly.
that leadership sees from
And
a
as you said, doing the
numbers.
hard work, doing the hard
Yes.
work to get that, because not all organizations do really look at the data and the metrics, which is so key. And so it's great that you're using that, and that's an example of how you're not getting questioned on it because you are doing that and providing it. So
Mm.
that's
And at times, I would say even pushing leaders to say, what are your metrics and what are your outcomes? And they don't always have it. Sometimes with sales or, we can train them to use this CRM, we can train them to get on the phone. What do you want them to, what do you,
yes,
at the end of the day, how much
that's the
money do you
goal.
want them to bring in? You got to
Exactly.
give them and that's where we're a partner. That's where we're more than a um show up and do something and train and leave. We're true partners.
Well, I think you shared some great tips today on how to partner with the business to be successful, and some other insights as well. So thank you so much today, Kara, for being on our show.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Love being here.
Yeah, that's wonderful. I do want to express my sincere thanks and a gift to you for being on our show. So I'm going to plant, or Training Pros is going to plant 5 trees in your name.
Oh, wonderful.
Yeah, we have a charity at Pros that is planting trees around the world. And so we've planted over 4,000 to date. We'll plant 5 trees in your name, and I'll send you a certificate showing you where they were planted if they tell us. And this is kind of our way of letting you know how much we appreciate it.
It's very special. Amazing. Thank you.
And that's this episode of Learning Leader Spotlight.
Thank you so much, Tracy.
Thanks for joining us for the latest episode of Learning Leader Spotlight, interviews with corporate L&D leaders. You'll find links in the show notes to any resources mentioned on today's show. If you're enjoying our podcast, please subscribe so you never miss an episode, and leave us a 5-star review.